In 1997, researchers at the University of Iowa wired test subjects to galvanic skin sensors during a card selection experiment and discovered the body was registering danger 40 choices before the conscious mind could name it. Neuroscientists still cannot fully account for what fired first. The test is called the Iowa gambling task. 4 decks of cards on a table. 2 are traps, large payoffs concealing catastrophic losses. 2 are safe, modest returns, no hidden penalties. Nobody tells you which is which. You sit down, you play, and you try to accumulate winnings. That is the entire instruction set. Antonio Damasio's team wasn't watching the cards. They were watching the sensors. Galvanic skin response, the same involuntary sweat signal a polygraph measures, the kind you cannot consciously produce or suppress. Around choice 10, something happened. Every time a subject's hand moved toward a losing deck, the sensor spiked. A stress signal, involuntary, unfakeable. The subjects reported nothing unusual. No suspicion, no bad feeling, no hesitation they could name. Most couldn't consciously identify which decks were dangerous until around card 50. Their bodies had been flagging the wrong decks since card 10. That gap, 40 choices wide, is not explained. The obvious theory is fast unconscious pattern recognition. The brain, they say, absorbs statistical regularities before language catches up. You're not predicting anything. You're remembering at a speed the conscious mind can't track. The brain stays in charge. Consciousness just lags behind like a caption on a film that's already running. This is tidy. It is almost certainly partial, but here's what makes it incomplete. The gut has its own nervous system. 500 million neurons lining the digestive tract, more than your entire spinal cord, organized into a mesh complex enough to operate without any instruction from the brain at all. Sever the vagus nerve, the primary cable connecting gut to skull, and digestion continues. Gut rhythms persist. Contractile waves keep moving. The enteric nervous system runs on its own. It does not need permission. It does not wait. Now add this. 90% of the signals traveling that vagus nerve move upward, gut to brain, not brain to gut. On that circuit, your brain is predominantly a receiver. Something below is transmitting continuously, and the brain is taking notes. What is it sending? Among other things, serotonin. 95% of the body's total serotonin, the molecule most closely linked to mood, risk evaluation, and emotional tone, is manufactured in the gut lining, not the brain, the gut. The signal ascending that nerve is chemically shaping how the brain weights incoming information before a single conscious assessment forms. Before you have a thought, the gut has already filed an opinion. Go back to the card table. The skin conductance fired at choice 10, 40 rounds before awareness. If gut-source serotonin is modulating how the brain evaluates threat in real time, if the enteric system is continuously upstream of conscious evaluation, then unconscious pattern recognition is not wrong. It is just missing a location. It names the phenomenon. It doesn't show you where it lives. It assumes the brain. The brain was downstream. 3 explanations compete for what fills that gap, and none of them close the case. Damasio's own somatic marker hypothesis says the body tags past outcomes with physical sensations and stamps those tags forward onto future choices. Your gut recognizes the bad deck because it has already filed a record of the loss, physically, at the cellular level. But this requires the body to maintain and retrieve an experiential archive through a mechanism that has not been identified. Predictive coding theory says the brain generates constant forward models and updates them on error, and what you call a gut feeling is a fast error signal propagating downward from the cortex. Gut is output, not origin. But this position struggles with the 90% upward traffic. The gut is not mostly receiving. It is mostly transmitting. That asymmetry doesn't go away. The embodied cognition camp argues the mind was never localized to the brain to begin with. Cognition, they say, is distributed across the body's full sensor array, and the experience of making a decision is a story the conscious mind narrates after something else has already acted. You did not decide. Something decided. Then you told yourself you chose. None of these accounts for the 40-choice gap with a mechanism. None identifies the specific structure that fired before awareness arrived. Each one describes what the phenomenon looks like from a different angle. Not one of them can show you the moment. What they all agree on is narrower than it sounds. By the time you feel certain, by the time you lean back and think, I knew that, the signal had already been traveling through structures that do not require your participation. The question neuroscientists still cannot answer is not whether the gut influences the brain. The data settled that. The question is whether what you experience as a decision is something you make. or something that reaches you already made looking for a name.